Alright guys, welcome back to F1 Drama. Toto Wolff has given his perspective on Max Verstappen's record-breaking 10th Grand Prix victory in a row, suggesting that it's not even particularly impressive. The numbers just belong on Wikipedia, they're irrelevant, nobody's going to read them anyway. A lot of people are looking at this saying that Toto Wolff's just massively salty that Verstappen and Red Bull are now having all this success. Do you agree with this perspective? In the comment section below, very much intrigued to your thoughts there. We'll look at all the comment today and a lot of the reaction as well. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always. Now first of all, Sainz definitely earns his driver of the day yesterday, because after he finished the Grand Prix, went to Milan and had his Richard Mille stolen. This isn't the first time, because it happened to Charles Leclerc, I think, as well, right? When he got his Richard Mille stolen, they're a sponsor of Ferrari, so I don't know if this is actually necessarily his watch or a watch that is given to him by the brand. They're basically like a hyper luxury watch brand. They kind of operate in an entirely different plane, even to the likes of Rolex, AP and Patek. But he actually, as Charles Leclerc did, effectively chased the robbers down, and we can see him here like outside the Panerai store in Milan yesterday when the robbers got arrested. So yeah, Carlos Sainz was doing it all yesterday, Minister of Defense on and off the track, it seems. He also congratulated the new IndyCar champion. Now this is definitely relevant to Formula 1, because lots of talk about Alex Palou. He was actually in a Formula 1 car in a McLaren last year, I think at the Austin Grand Prix, for a free practice session, but he won again the IndyCar Championship yesterday. Spanish driver, 26 years of age. And for the last 17 IndyCar seasons in a row, the championship has gone down to the very final round. Alex Palou broke that record yesterday by winning the championship yesterday at Portland, with one round at Laguna Seca still to spare next weekend, I believe, which is remarkable on so many levels. His second win in the series in just 3 seasons, and just a dominant drive again to win another Grand Prix yesterday to round out the championship. Now, Palou has been linked to a Formula 1 seat, and for very good reason. Potentially to the whole Red Bull situation now for Tauri. That seems less likely now, given they've got, Max, Checo, Yuki, Daniel, and now Liam Lawson potentially in the conversation. So maybe the option for Palou could be to Williams. I think that might be the seat that could open up, and I don't think it would be a terrible way to go. Like, he's 26 years old. If Alex Palou, he can keep stacking trophies in IndyCar for sure, and maybe he wants to, but if he does want to get to Formula 1, he might not have too many years left where teams will really give him a chance as a rookie of the sport. He's 26. It's not like he's super fresh to racing in general. So maybe the Williams seat, if it opens up next year, could be a legitimate possibility. So I guess keep your eyes on that one. Now, speaking of Daniel Ricciardo, Christian Horner has said it ain't looking good for him to return in 2 weeks' time. The Singapore Grand Prix is happening. The thing is, right, you don't just have to race on the Sunday. You've got to be there Wednesday, Thursday, and then, of course, practice on Friday. And if there's any Grand Prix that is the most taxing physically, Singapore's probably that Grand Prix. So, Daniel Ricciardo probably won't be there for that one. Maybe Japan, and Horner says it's optimistic for Japan. That is possible. But I think that they might be quite keen to see what Liam Lawson could do in the car in Japan, because he has some good experience driving Super Formula around there just this past season. So I think it is definitely possible that Ricciardo is out all the way until Qatar, at which point he will have 6 Grand Prix left. Qatar, and then we go, like Austin, Mexico, Brazil, Las Vegas, Abu Dhabi, whatever it is, to close out the season. So that would give Ricciardo 8 races total, including the 2 that he did before, to kind of prove himself to Red Bull. That might be enough, but it's definitely not ideal. So potentially it's going to be several weeks until Ricciardo's back in the car, depending how quickly he recovers. Now, if you guys didn't pay attention yesterday, Max Verstappen just set a new championship all-time record for 10 Grand Prix wins in a row, overtaking Vettel's record set in 2013 that was considered by some to be, pretty much unbeatable. But, Max has dominated it. Red Bull have one of the most dominant cars, if not the most dominant we have ever seen in F1 history. They make no mistakes as a team, and neither does Max Verstappen and his teammate. It just isn't fast enough to challenge him at all. Now, this is no doubt a very impressive record. I mean, you look back at some of these records. I mean, the most that Mercedes ever got was 7 with Nico Rosberg, for example, and Toto Wolff gave his thoughts on this after the Grand Prix, and he says the following.
Max has achieved 10 in a row. Not even your guys in their peak ever did that. I think the team did at one point, but anyway, you've got to take your hat off.
Yeah, I mean, our situation was maybe a little bit different because we had two guys fighting against each other within the team. I don't know whether he cares about the record. It's not something that would be important for me, any of those numbers. For Wikipedia, nobody reads that anyway.
Now, is Toto Wolff correct that in part they probably could have got more race victories in a row with either a Hamilton or a Rosberg if they had a lesser secondary driver in the team? Probably yes, but still, Toto Wolff's comments as he says, I don't know if Max even really cares about that record. I'm sure that he does, as he certainly did in the post-race press conference. It's not something that would be important to me, any of those numbers, which is interesting just because back in 2020 when Mercedes nearly got all of the pole positions of the season, Toto Wolff seemed pretty annoyed they didn't get that, even though you could argue that's kind of an irrelevant stat as well. It's for Wikipedia, nobody reads that anyway, which is just a hilarious quote that people are going to be using for weeks and months to come, and I'm looking forward to them doing exactly that, because what qualifies as a quote, or as a stat, let's say, that's Wikipedia worthy, that nobody cares about apparently, or is actually an important stat? So I guess we'll have a look at Verstappen's records, right? So these are the records that he owns in Formula 1. Youngest driver to start a race, youngest driver to score points, youngest driver to win a race, most podium finishes in a season with 18, which was during 2021, wasn't it? That was a remarkable season, and at least for podium finishes given the circumstances. Most points was last year, and then most wins 15 last year, now most consecutive wins at 10, and who's to say that he's not going to get 18 from now to the end of the year with the way things are looking. So these are his records. Now look, the most important records in the sport, I'm sure Toto Wolff would say, are, championships, right? How many championships have you won? How many Grand Prix have you won? Maybe how many pole positions have you had, right? He's probably going to point at the records that Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes themselves own. But, what clarifies as a record that is actually meaningful and what is a record that is just Wikipedia worthy, right? It's just, there's obviously going to be a grey area there. And all records are impressive to some extent, some more so than others. But this record is no doubt impressive, and Toto Wolff even goes on to say, I didn't even know there was a count of how many races you win in a row, which is definitely an interesting thing to say because, it's definitely something that Mercedes would have looked at in the past and still look at to this day. I'm sure that Toto Wolff isn't happy that Verstappen has just got that record, especially because of this man on the left-hand side. That's what I think this is mainly about. There are some records that you could consider to be irrelevant, such as Max Verstappen has won the last 17 races in a row on clockwise configurations, which is a cool stat, but it's not especially relevant. Brazil, for example, is anti-clockwise, and that he didn't win last year. And also we go to Singapore, that is also an anti-clockwise circuit. Most circuits are clockwise, but Singapore's anti-clockwise, so maybe there's something to be said about that. Not to say that he won't win there anyway, but just to say that he has won the last 17 races on clockwise configurations, and that is, this is a Wikipedia stat. This is an irrelevant stat, I would say. As cool as it might be, but still, the 10 wins in a row is very impressive. Now, I think what this is about is, and I agree with people that are saying that Toto Wolff is salty, and you can't blame him for being salty, I don't think. I mean, who would not be salty in Toto Wolff's position? You've come off winning 8 championships in a row, breaking so many records as Mercedes, dominating that period up and down, but they won the championships. Hamilton breaks a load of records during that time. Toto Wolff and Mercedes break a load of records. And now your arch rival from most of during that period, Mr. Christian Horner, that there was so much drama between the two of them. Now, his team is not only dominating the sport in a more dominant way than Mercedes were really ever able to do, at least so far. It's only been 2 seasons, so things can change, but the regulations aren't changing, so that implies this dominance is going to continue. And now Christian Horner gets to be the one being smug in press conferences every week, talking about how good his team is, talking about how good Verstappen is, and how Verstappen's breaking all the records and is basically the best driver we've ever seen in the sport. And Toto Wolff has to sit there on the sidelines and can't really say anything, right, because his team isn't performing at that level. And there's an argument that says the reason why Red Bull are so good now is because they were getting beaten up by Mercedes for all those years. They had to become operationally magnificent in all departments, which they've now achieved, and now their car is quick as well, and they've got the best driver. It's, they're basically an unbeatable situation right now, Red Bull, and Mercedes will have to go back to the drawing board and figure out how they do the same thing. But, I think any sportsman, even in Toto Wolff's position as a team principal, if you're a winner in this sport, or any sport, and you're not a bit of a bad loser, I don't think that they really go together. Every winner, maybe with the exception of Roger Federer, the vast majority of champions are really bad losers. You'll see it with all the drivers, and you'll see it with the team principal as well. Toto's a bad loser, Horner's a bad loser, Hamilton's a bad loser, Verstappen's a bad loser. You see it everywhere. And for good reason, right? The two go hand in hand with, winning and not liking to lose. So I'm not surprised that Toto Wolff's making comments comments like this, but they are pretty out there given the circumstances. And look, he's trying to downplay the success that Red Bull and Verstappen are having, mainly because, he doesn't like it, right? He's definitely at least a little bit salty over this, and, who wouldn't be salty given the circumstances? I'm sure every team would love to be in the position that Red Bull are currently in, but they're not. Only Red Bull are. Now, he also went on to make even further comments, which is like, it's not been a good couple of weeks, it's got to be said, for Toto Wolff, and especially Mercedes, because, 5th and 6th in the race yesterday was the best they could do yesterday, but the weekend before in Zandvoort, they actually had a really good car there, and if they didn't bottle the strategy, they might have had a chance to get at least a podium, if not potentially even challenge Max for the win. That's what Hamilton said with the pace that they had. But, and I think Toto Wolff's also got some operation he's got to have on his, either it's his knee or, it's his elbow as well. I think he's broken something in a cycling accident, so he's got to get it repaired. Maybe it's his wrist. I don't know. He's got to have surgery on that. He's not having a good time right now, and his team is, getting a lot of their dominant records broken by Verstappen and Red Bull right now, and who's to say it's not going to continue? He also made the comment that Lewis Hamilton's the only driver that doesn't complain. Now, this is a little bit out of context, I would say, just because the actual original comment is that he's the only one admitting his mistakes. So he said that Hamilton's very sportsmanlike with these things. He's the only one I see out there admitting and saying, look, I got this wrong, which obviously isn't true. I mean, other drivers also admit their mistakes. Does Hamilton admit his mistakes when he squeezes Piastri into the wall and stuff more than other drivers? Maybe so. Maybe there's an argument to be said for that. But it's not like he's the only driver that ever apologizes when things go wrong. This kind of sportsmanship is what you need to admire with him. Pretty much everyone is always complaining and moaning just to try not to get a penalty. Of course, even George did that, right? Did he not? Last year, was it Austin last year when he hit into Sainz and he was on the radio saying, no, he pushed me off or whatever, right? And then as soon as he got the penalty, he was like, yeah, actually, it was probably fair enough, but I just tried my best on the radio to get the stewards not to give it to me. So, whatever you think about this, I know that some people have said, well, it was only a few weeks ago where Toto Wolff was on the radio to Hamilton saying, shut up and drive the car, even though it's bad back in Austria. So, there's obviously two sides to this thing. Is Toto Wolff and the entire Mercedes team, and frankly probably the entire Ferrari team, salty that Red Bull are having their success? Probably yes, especially Toto Wolff, and I get it, right, and I totally understand it. I think some of the comments that we see are pretty entertaining, and it doesn't seem like they're going to be slowing down anytime soon, because what's to stop Verstappen going from 10 wins to 18 by the end of the season? What's to stop him dominating at the start of next season, given their car, with no regulation changes going into next year and the year beyond, is probably still going to be the fastest by some margin? That's how it looks at the present day. So very much intrigued to your perspective in the comment section below. Just to look at as well, excluding the the obvious, right, the two Red Bulls, the championship is pretty tasty now for second place actually, and Hamilton is looking good, well, for third place right behind Perez, and Perez is quite a way ahead now, but Hamilton is closing in on Alonso here for third place in the championship, and this is what it looks like, excluding the top two, with Verstappen miles ahead of absolutely everybody, even if he was in the constructors on his own. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.